Alright, so this part here, I'm going to be texturing this. Now I'm using sorry, that was my keys. I'm going to have to be switching to these bits up the top here to rotate around because I'm using a trackpad at the moment. And I'm going to be texturing these models. Now because I made them a component, and hopefully if you made them a component, you will find this part easier as well. One thing you might want to do is go to View, Edge Style, and turn Profiles off. That'll make it a little bit easier on the eyes. The big thick black lines won't show up. And I'm going to start by texturing the floor, because that's going to be the most straightforward part. Now in this case, what the best thing to do might be to actually resize this floor, bring that end point back in. Oops. Well, I'll grab that there and snap it to there, and then zoom out, edit this, bring this point here, or this edge here all the way back to here, and I'll just have to grab that and grab that, just like that there, just so that I can just edit this component here and then paste it along further. So I just want to work with one component at the moment. I don't need to edit them all. I'll change the door later. I'm just going to work with one component here. So what I'm going to do is, just to make it a bit simpler on myself, I am going to select this and make one copy of it just to make sure that it does tile. So hit Control and paste it to there, and that should be good. So now I'll double click this. Hopefully it was a component. Might not be. No, it's not a component. I want to make these components now. So make component, delete that, and then make a copy of that across there. Okay. So now, using the paint bucket, I'm going to create a new texture. It's important to name these textures. Don't just call them material 1, because when Unity imports them, you won't know what they are. So floor, you can give it underscore floor A, because we might have a different floor later on. And I'm going to use a texture image. It's going to ask me to open it. Now the place I downloaded these to, you'll have to find wherever you downloaded yours. Recent places, downloads. It's going to load all this stuff up. Downloads. Open, and in downloads I just put them into set 9, I think. Set 9. Click open, and in here we've got a whole lot of different textures. Now some of them are going to be appropriate for the floor, some of them won't be. I'm going to try and use this one here, this blue one, and click open, and it's 12 by 12. I think I made this 4 across, so I might just make that 4 there. And I should be able to click OK and paint that on there. Now that's too big, so I'm going to have to right click, texture, position. I'll just move that to that corner. Scale it down so that it fits in like that. And also rotate it around that way. So I'll scale it to the midpoint. It should be there. And untick. So there's the floor in there, and I'll just see it doesn't quite match up with the other one next to it. I'm not sure why that is, because the rotation is not proper. So I might just undo that and get that rotation going again. So I'll click on that, texture, position, scale it down, and rotate it around so it's on that green axis. That. Make sure that it works in there. It does, and I'll position it now. I actually want those runners to be on the outside. Like that. Okay, so that bit looks pretty alright there. Now what I could do with this, now that I've got it, is I could actually go in and add a bit more detail to this floor. So rectangle. I could go in now and just add some more detail to this. Drag this bit down. And then I'd have to go and erase part of this here, because I don't want that bit hanging up there. I don't want that bit there. Oops. Oh, I didn't get that to the edge. So from there to there, making sure it's actually on the edge this time. Oh, I've made a mistake when I've drawn that line from there to there. It's not actually been straight. So we'll leave that for now. The texture should be fine. And we'll move on to texturing the other parts. So this model here, I'm going to double click this bit. And hopefully, oh good, it is a component. So I can start to texture this. Now I want to use a full texture for this one. So I'm going to find it. And I'm going to grab... I'm just going to grab one of these metally looking textures. This one looks alright. And click open. Now pretty much for the whole component, I'm going to make that go one by one. I'm going to grab that whole component and paint the whole thing with the same texture. Okay, this is going to give it a slightly cloudy texture like that. You can see that that works pretty well. It's very metallic. For inside on these areas here, I might grab a different texture, and I should have called that metal pillars. I'll make a new one. Metal pillars 2, and this time I will load a different texture. Let's grab maybe one of these here and click OK, and I'll fill that with that there. I might also come across to this side and fill that bit too. So any of these indented bits, I'm going to fill them. With that texture, and there, that bit's done. So that should have affected all the rest of them. It has, so that's gone down there. This wall texture, so click on this wall, and I just want to apply it to this side. I'll rotate around so we can see it. I'm going to make a new texture, wall texture, load that up. I'm going to find an appropriate wall texture. In this case I might use something simple, this here. I don't want to use these ones that have like the metal bits on it, because I haven't got any metal bits. I'm going to use that there, click open, and we'll see what size that needs to be after I paint it. Okay, so that might be a bit big, a bit small, so I'll texture, position, scale it up a little bit, move it down. Like that. Okay, so that texture's there. And then I'll grab the paint bucket, select that, whoops, and paint the ceiling. Actually, I don't want to do everything on there. So let's paint that part. I don't want to paint across the roof there. That's not quite right there. At least if I do it that way. No, I don't want to paint the roof that, so let's get a ceiling texture. Once you've figured this out, it's pretty straightforward. You probably don't need to follow the video for a bit, so you can just kind of have it in the background while you set up your texture. I'll rotate around. Got that. That texture down the right hand side, I'll use that one again and pop that on there. It's a bit big, so I might click Control and Alt, sorry, and click that, and rotate there. Click the paint bucket, click that, so it takes on that setting from the other side. These panels, let's bring something in like a decal. So I'm going to click open, and for these panels I think I might use something like this stuff here. This one might be a good one, and I'm going to call it sci-fi bits. I'll make it 1.5 by 1.5. I'll click OK, and I'll rotate around. I'm actually going to put that into here. So I'll grab those sci-fi bits, click that in there, and put some sci-fi little panel things behind it. These bits I'm just going to fill with the metal pillar color, and I'll have to rotate around to do that. And you'll probably need to rotate back around the other way to make sure you get the bit that's kind of in here on the left, and also any other bits that we can't see. And then this is a bit weird, this part, because what I'm going to do is just draw over there, click this, create a new material, and call it glass. I'm going to select another texture. I might make it this one here. Click open. And the opacity I'm going to set quite low. And click OK. Then I'm going to use that to fill this one. Okay, it's going to give it a glassy look. And I might just turn the opacity up a little bit. Like that there. Okay, click off, and it's got that opacity on there. Might need to do something around the edge here so it doesn't look as weird. So I might offset this line. Wrong line. Like that. And pull that bit out. And then fill that texture again with that bit. And that's just going to give an edge to it so it doesn't look like it's just glass stuck on nothing. Okay, so what I've got so far is most of my hallway kind of textured there with some different dirty looking textures. Now lighting effects and bump mapping are going to make a big difference to this here. These bits along the top I might just fill with I might just use a color on them. So these bits here, color wheel, make it really dark black or like a dark color. Oh no, I don't want to do that. I'll just X that. Get this here, select. I'll use a dark color for that one. For the next one, I'll use a dark color for the third one and the fourth one, and then I'll just offset that with a separate lighter color there and there. I could, if I wanted to, have something like a rusty maybe look. I'll see if I've got any rusty textures. Rusty metal. Open that up. Doesn't look like it. There might be something in here. Not really. Maybe something like that might be okay. And I can colorize it, meaning I can make it quite dark and then paint that there. It'll just give it a bit more texture rather than just straight up solid color. Okay, so the only thing left to do are these bits here on the right. Now for those I could take simple route. Let's just go into edit those. Fill them with something like that, and then around the outside maybe a darker color. No, that's transparent. Okay. Now if I go view edge style and turn all the edges off, I should be able to kind of rotate around and get an idea of what it might look like in Unity. Now from here, that's pretty much my whole model done. I'm just going to select this and group it and delete all the other stuff that's on there. So delete all those other bits. Except for my door. I might just go File, Export, 3D Model, Sci-Fi Hall, and I'm going to make it a DAE file. And we're going to get that sorted as to why yours won't import the textures. Export. There's quite a lot of detail to this model here. There's some little niggly bits that I haven't really worried about along the top there, which we'll have to sort out in Unity. But just very briefly, if I go into Unity, stop that from playing, and I'll just pause the video here while I get it loaded. Okay, so it's imported into Unity. I've put it into my scene here, and I just reset its position to 0. Now what you'll notice is it will come in with an odd rotation. It's because SketchUp is a bit weird. Anyway, it will still work, so you can see here that it is in there. All those different lines are just where SketchUp has decided to put the tries. Also, this is why we don't use cylinders in SketchUp. Instead, you should use like a 6-sided, polygon, or an 8-sided polygon to do circles. Otherwise you get an obscene amount of triangles on this thing here. Now because our scene's pretty small, it's going to be okay, but in something, a program on an iPad, if it was a bit more graphics intensive, you might get some real bad lag. Now there's some areas that I didn't texture in that corner there and on the left there, so we're going to work from it this way. So I've got this in here, and I'm going to duplicate it and move it down. Hopefully, you might have to rotate around. I can see through that because there's no texture there. It's the reverse face, so that's what will happen if you leave things to be reversed in SketchUp. Now I should be able to kind of click. In Unity, what you can do is you can do what's called vertex snapping. So I can hold V, grab that corner vertex there and snap it. Well, I should be able to. It's not letting me move my mouse. Great. I'll just sort that out later. For now, I'm just going to move it so that it does line up with it pretty much right perfectly. Okay, duplicate it again, move it so it lines up with it perfectly, and duplicate it one more time. So it lines up pretty close to it. Alright, now if I right click and have a look around here, there's my hallway mainly done. And what I'm going to do is do some light mapping. So in the next video, I'll do the light mapping.